In Sanford & Son, the cast was much younger than you might expect. Red Fox was actually only 49 playing a 65-year-old. LaWanda Page was 53. Whitman Mayo shocked the heck out of me, was only 43, and Don Bexley was the only one in his 60s, but by season 6 he looked much younger. Us Sanford & Son fans have heard the name Fred G. Sanford hundreds of times, from Golden Gloves to Goo Goo Gaga to other funniest phrases. But in reality, you know Red Fox's older brother and dad were both named Fred G. Sanford, and the G stood for Glenn. This is perhaps the most iconic scene in Sanford & Son history. You have Bubba, Leroy, Skillet, Esther, and Fred. Did you know all 5 of these toured together on this Chitlin circuit for comedy? This is the only time in show history where they're all together on screen at the same time. What a piece of... We've heard Fred say, "Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you," many times, but we never actually got to see Elizabeth. Well, you know in one episode there's an actual picture of her right here, bedside. Do you know who that really is? That is Red Fox's actual wife at the time, Betty Jean Harris. Did you know the actor Whitman Mayo, who auditioned for the part of Grady Wilson, never thought he would get it? In fact, after he got it, he continued to try to leave the show to go back to his business, but his character became so popular he could never leave, and producers asked him to stay, which he did. Did you ever recognize this actor from Sanford & Son? The character's name was Otis Littlejohn, and it took me years before I finally realized where I saw him. That's correct. Stymie from Our Gang Comedy when he was a young boy. And that trademark bowler hat, it was none other than Stan Laura who gave it to him. Did you know Red Fox, who played Fred Sanford and brought in the greatest rivalry in television history, Aunt Esther, played by LaWanda Page, were actually best friends? They'd known each other since grade school, and when she almost didn't get the job, he was ready to quit. That's a true fact. Did you know for the 1980 series Sanford, NBC actually wanted to bring Damon Wilson back to reprise his role as Lamont? But because of the way Sanford & Son ended, and Red Fox did not tell Damon about him leaving to ABC, there was friction, and Damon refused to do the series. Red Fox played the most legendary television character in history, Fred G. Sanford. So I started wondering, does he actually have a street named after him? If you give a quick search, you'll actually see he has it in multiple states, including Texas, California, and of course, St. Louis, Missouri. In the famous episode Jealousy with this character, Osgood Wilcox, played by Roscoe Lee Brown, remember when he jumps up and does the judo and Fred Sanford says, "This N-word's crazy"? That was actually improvised by Red Fox, and they weren't going to leave it in the original cut, but the audience said they should. So on our channel, we decided to do the Sanford & Son Mount Rushmore. You got to have Fred, we know Grady, and Esther. A lot of people said they needed Bubba on there, but you can't take off Lamont. He is actually in the title Sanford & Son. So who would you take off? These are my 4 right here. Do you agree? Nathaniel Taylor, who played Rollo Lawson on Sanford & Son, actually auditioned for the part with Red Fox. When they talked about their hometown St. Louis, they became tight friends. In fact, he took him on the show Sanford and the Red Fox show as well. Remember the final scene in Sanford & Son where Fred and Lamont both tell each other they love each other? It's the perfect ending in series history. But did you know they planned on a season 7? So we almost didn't get the final scene. This was not planned to be the last scene, but very lucky for producers, it was. We all know Fred Sanford loved to insult Aunt Esther and point out how ugly she was. And LaWanda Page was such a good sport about it because she had so much confidence. In reality, she was a very beautiful woman. In fact, so much so that in her younger days, she was a sex symbol as the bronze goddess of fire. All fans know in Sanford & Son, Fred Sanford's own personal anthem and theme song is "If I Didn't Care," performed by the Ink Spots. Did you know NBC would not pay for the rights to cover the song? Red Fox was such a diehard fan that he paid for it out of his own money so he could perform on the show. What inspired Fred Sanford's crazy walk? The fact is, there was no inspiration. When he actually tried on the shoes for the costume, they were too heavy, and that gave him that walk. Red Fox said himself, "Until I put on those shoes, no matter what I'm wearing up here, I'm not Fred Sanford." If you are a fan of Sanford & Son, odds are you've probably heard of Ripple. Well, what the heck is Ripple exactly?
You like a glass of Ripple before you go? What's that?
The popular drink from the 70s was more popular thanks to Fred G. Sanford's constant reach for it. It was a low-end fortified wine with 11% ABV. If you drink wine, you know what that is. If not, let's just say it wasn't the best quality. It wasn't expensive, and we know how sometimes cheap things can get a reputation for being less in quality.
I know cheap liquor when I taste it.
This led others to believe only low-income alcoholics were the only one drinking Ripple. But in reality, it was very popular among young drinkers and college students.
This is what we were asking.
The brand featured in the show and the one Fred was always drinking, unfortunately today is discontinued.